Hi, and welcome to Chapter 2, How to Use Oracle SQL Developer. We've gone through a ton of this information in the previous two videos, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to highlight some of the stuff and get into some type of head features using the snippets and going through and looking up errors that you're going to receive online. Let's go ahead and get started. All of this we'll be able to do at the end. All of these slides are up. You'll be able to navigate through the objects. You'll look at the column definitions, which we've seen so far. You'll be able to view the table, edit column definitions for the table, which we'll touch on. Create, run, and save. Very important to save your SQL statements. And then we'll talk about the reference manual as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just jump into my SQL. So I have my SQL developer up and going. I am going to stick with my accounts payable table. We have the startup page. Again, I always leave it there. And in this time, I'm going to go into my invoice table. And in my invoice table, again, we have our column name, our data type, and then we have our associated data for all of our invoices. Now, select statement again always has the select clause and the from clause. So I'm going to try to type this a little bit slower so that you can see some of the type of head features that Oracle SQL has. Now I can go in and I can start typing. I can come down and I can open up a SQL worksheet. So if I go to my little SQL guy down here, click on the drop down, I want to run this in my accounts payable schema. So I'm going to open that up and it comes up with my worksheet for my accounts payable schema. I could also come over here to the right hand side and switch schemas if I accidentally clicked on the wrong one. Again, my worksheet, I'm going to be typing my SQL straight out. I recommend that you do that and you don't use a query builder. I want you to get comfortable with SQL in and of itself. SQL Developer gives you those handy hints. However, you won't necessarily be able to use all those handy hints maybe on a test or an exam. You definitely won't be able to use those handy hints if you're going and you're putting those SQL statements into an application. Again, my basic select clause has a select statement and a from statement. And if I was a little slower, in fact, I'll back that up just a little bit and I will type in select again and it will come up with the actual structure that you need. So this is select, remember the asterisk all, from, and then it's going to be my table name over here. So you can see down at the bottom, you have the exact syntax that you need. So I have select and I'm going to put in from, and you can see that I have these pink squiggly lines under it. The system doesn't know, thinks something's wrong. I know everything is fine right now, so I'm just going to leave it at that. I could also type it in all caps, which you will see a lot in your book. Sometimes I type in them all caps, sometimes I just capitalize the first letter. It doesn't matter in the long run, and I'm not going to hold you to it. There's no real standard for that. But I have my select, and this is next to it is where I'm going to put my column names. But if I go into my from and I start typing my table names, if I'm patient, they'll come up. And I'm not patient, so they didn't come up. So I'm going to put in invoices and I'm going to end it with a semicolon. Now I'm going to select my columns. So because I have my table name in there, and only because I have my table name in there, when I start typing, I should get a list of my columns. And I'm really trying to be patient because it never really wants to work when there we go. When I'm doing a demo. Go through and I type the first few letters in. Let's say I want the invoice ID and then I want the invoice due date for whatever reason. Those are the two columns I want. But you'll notice I just had to go and type in the first few letters and then it came up with the actual column name, which is wonderful because one of the largest mistakes people make is mistyping, or as in my case, my keyboard always mistypes. You can go through, type ahead, select the value that you want and double click on it, and that will bring it right into where your cursor is. And now from here I can go through and run it. Again, the green arrow is to run just the statement, or I can run the entire script. Once I run the statement, my results will show up in my results query down here. From here, I can go through and print it. I can refresh it. I can delete the persistence setting, which we'll just leave alone. I can go through and I can see the SQL that's associated with that, which is my statement up here. So this is just my results query when I go through and I run that using my run statement. If I use my run script, it will bring up my script output. So two different windows will come up down here. My first one is for my green triangle, my run statement. My second one, my script output, is when I run the entire script. And then from here, I can go and I can do a Control A, a Control C, that copies and pastes it into, and then I can paste it into something else. I can erase it. I can save the file. This will save my output information. I can save it wherever I want to. We're going to leave it. I'm not going to save it for now. And then I have the ability to run the script output as another script. We're never going to get into that in this class. And then you can see how long it took to complete that. So again, to go and to run your query, you use either one of these depending on how you want your results to appear. Script output is running my entire script. Query results is running just that particular query. I can use type ahead. The type ahead for the columns only works is if you have your table in there. Once you have your table in there, then your columns can go through and can help you populate. So now I'm going to write a new select statement, and I'm going to take these from terms. And then I don't know my fields for my terms. Look, they automatically pop up. I only have 3. So I'm going to do my description, comma, and then it should come up with my, I'm looking for terms due. So my terms due date, and you'll see I have a couple extra spaces in here. It's not going to affect the results of your query, but if you go through and you keep everything consistent, it will help you as you go through and maintain your queries. So now I just want to run this one. I'm going to come up to my green arrow, run that. Life is good down here. But let's just say that I didn't spell something correctly. And I come back in and I run it. It's going to give me an error. It's going to give me an Oracle error 00904 that it's an invalid identifier. And if I look at that, I can go through and I can tell I left out the S. But let's just say I'm in a hurry, I'm in a panic, my project's due in a couple hours, and I want to find out what that is. So I've copied that error to my clipboard, and I'm going to come into Google and I'm just going to paste it. And lo and behold, it comes up with all of this information. There's a ton of information out on the internet. If you copy in and use the ORA, and it will tell you what's typically wrong. This one was a pretty straightforward error, but there's all of Oracle's errors are, I shouldn't say all of them, but a lot of them are identified and described very well out on the internet. We can see here this says error at line 4, column 8. Well, how do I know that's line 4? To identify your lines, come over into this far margin, right click, and then click on line numbers. So again, that was that far margin. Put your cursor over there, right click, and line numbers. So now I can go to line 4. If I wanted to, I could go over, I could count over and identify where my error is. So that's 2, 4, 6. The next value is where it starts, which is column 8. So I can come back in here and type in the correct value. So I can come back in here, I can run just this script through run script, or I can use the shortcut that is Control Enter, or I can run the entire script, which will run all 5 lines, which is an F5. Either way, you'll go through and you'll get the results of one or both of those SQL statements. So we've covered a lot of the stuff in chapter 2. Again, we covered it before chapter 2 because you were using the SQL developer. A couple of things that I really want to point out is that you want to avoid misspellings. I use the type ahead a lot. You want to check the spellings of all your clauses, which are your keywords. We'll talk a lot more about quotes as we progress through the class. Single quotes and double quotes are a little bit different as we use them in aliases and strings and so forth, and Oracle is very particular about them. You want to make sure that you're connected to the right schema and you're running your scripts against the right tables. So from here, the last thing that I want to cover is help. So you can go into search, you can go into table of contents, you can go out to the internet, which we talked about a little bit earlier, or you can come in and you can see some additional help for going through and using SQL Developer. Again, we're not going to learn all the ins and outs. I'm going to get you comfortable with the information that you need to know to be able to be successful in this class. If you have any questions on anything from Chapter 2, please don't hesitate to contact me, email me, come see me during my office hours, or post something on the discussion board. Thank you so much and have a great day.